to this Impact event organized by AgriFoSe2030 program. It's a delight to be here at this event, which is a hybrid event, in fact. We have a few people joining here in the studio in the SLU, Swedish University of Agriculture Sciences campus in Uppsala, Sweden. And then we have people joining us online. This event is recorded, so you will be able to access it afterwards. My name is Anneli Sundin. I'm the moderator of this event today. I am a science communicator and a team leader of a communications team at Stockholm Environment Institute, with its headquarters here in neighboring Stockholm in Sweden. It's extra special for me to be here because I used to work with communications and engagement in the AgriFoSe program. However, I haven't been involved in the last few years, so it's going to be really exciting to hear more about what the program has achieved more lately. And this takes me to why we're having this event, why it matters. And if you didn't know, it's actually this year, 10 years ago since the program started. So we're celebrating a decade, which is fantastic. And through its way of working, it has created long-lasting change on the ground. And this is something we will discuss today on how we can actually boost it, scale it up, and make it work even better in the long term. And our first speaker, which I will introduce shortly, will talk more about it. But first, I want to just show you the agenda for today. So first, we will have some esteemed guests giving some keynotes where they will bring a wealth of experience from academia, from finance and international cooperation, talking about the importance of universities and evidence-based decision-making. Then after that follows actually a project case study from the program, which is really exciting. It's about the Ugandan dairy sector. And after that, we have an exciting panel discussion talking about the future of science translation, which is in the core of the program. And if time allows, we will have some questions to be answered from the audience online or from anyone here in the audience in the studio. But I have my suspicions that we might run out of time. We'll have to see. And then SIDA will be giving some closing remarks. SIDA, the Swedish International Development Cooperation Agency, is the funder of the program, I should say. So now I will welcome up on stage Elisabeth Rajala, and I'll give you a short introduction. She's a veterinarian and a researcher at SLU. She's also the program director of the program, AgriFoSe. And she has extensive experience on food systems and sustainable livestock and food safety. And she's really passionate about capacity development and science translation. I'm really excited to have you here giving the welcoming remarks.
Thank you very much, Anneli. Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon. It's my great pleasure to welcome you to today, this AgriFoSe Impact event. And I would especially like to welcome our distinguished guests, including representatives from Bank of Uganda, SIDA here in the room, university leadership, researchers, and partners. And my name is Elisabeth Rajala, and I'm the program director of this program, as Anneli said, funded by SIDA. And for the past 10 years, this program has worked to really strengthen connection between research, policy, and practice. And we have done that in sub-Saharan Africa, but also Southeast Asia. And that is to support food and nutrition security. And through our science translation approach, researchers collaborate with farmers, policymakers, businesses, and communities to create solutions that are locally relevant and sustainable. And in this impact report, which I know you will also receive a link in the chat, you can read about 17 projects that we have had between 2018 and 2024, really showcasing practical science translation processes. So this is like success stories from those projects. And one very important lesson from the past 10 years has been the need to move from short-term projects towards more institutionalized capacity building, really trying to embed science translation and stakeholder engagement within partner universities and regional networks, really to try to create long-term impact. So to support this, we in the program established 3 new hubs 1.5 years ago. And we have one hub in Kenya, one in Uganda, and one in Zimbabwe. And these hubs have become very important platforms for collaboration, capacity building, and institutional learning. So as Anneli said, today's seminar is an opportunity to reflect on how we can move science from shelf to field, ensuring that research really contributes to real change in food systems and livelihoods. So we will hear examples from Uganda, including the dairy sector, that show locally grounded research and strong partnerships can translate evidence in practice and long-term impact. And we also look forward to hear more about the institutionalization works which is currently being carried out at Uganda universities to help sustain and scale our approaches over time. So thank you all for being here, both in the studio here, but also online. And I look very much forward to inspiring seminar and fruitful discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. That was really interesting to hear about the hub development. And I'm glad to say that we will have you later in the panel where we can hear more about this. Super.
Thank you.
Thank you. Um, Now, I think we have the next speaker in place. It's a delight for me to introduce Professor Augustus Nwagaba, who is the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda. And we will, in a second, test his sound and video. I would just want to introduce him. He has more than 30 years of experience in economics, in public policy, in macroeconomic management, and he has advised major international institutions, including the African Development Bank, FAO, World Bank, UNDP, etc. He's widely published. I recommend you go and check out his list of publications. He's recently authored a book called Transformative Economics. And so it's really an honor to introduce him and listen to his insights on the topic of evidence-based policy making and why it's important. Let's see if we have the technology with us today. Can you hear us, Professor Nwagaba? And can we see you? I know that technicians are working hard now. Get it work. I think he was there. Eller? Nope. Shall we move on to the next speaker? Or let me see. It's another minute for them to see if they can. Because I think he had joined the
Hello,
event.
hello, good morning.
He's here with us. We can hear you.
Yes,
Let's see if we can see you as well. Are you on camera? Have you turned your camera on? No? No. Otherwise, we let you speak and we listen to you.
just a second.
Yes, great. We can wait.
I'm going to share the screen.
Yes.
You stop it with that. Mhm. Yes, I'm sharing the screen. Kindly give me the right to share the screen.
We still cannot see him. if the technicians can give us any signal.
The rights for sharing the screen.
I think they're working on it,
Not here.
Professor.
Mm. That's okay. Okay.
Bear with us.
Okay. Mhm.
Could we otherwise... Sorry, now they're giving me some signals.
Logo from the
With please try again with sharing. We should have given you access now. So please try again. And we see if it works. Do we get your slides? We are very curious to see them, so it would be great. What about his camera? Do we have that? Ah, okay. He might have gotten disconnected. Yeah. Professor Nwagaba, are you there with us now? No. Yeah, we might have to move on to the next speaker. He's not joining. He will probably be joining again. Maybe he's looking for better internet connection. I know that we have the two next speakers with us. So let's move on, and we'll see if we can come back to Professor Nwagaba later. So we come to the two university representatives of in Uganda. Unfortunately, we will not have the Vice Chancellor of Tsiambogo University, who's part of the hub in Uganda, because of a family emergency. But instead, lucky us, he sent us a representative, Professor James Mugisha, who's a prominent Ugandan academic and researcher, and he serves as the Dean of the Faculty of Social Sciences at Tsiambogo University. Let's see if you're with us, and then I will introduce Professor David Okelowini when we get to him. So if we can get Professor James Mugisha.
Yeah, thank you for the honor and the invitation to speak to you today. Greetings from Professor Katunguka and greetings from the Tsiambogo University fraternity. We are joining these discussions about translating science into policy and practice. And we are also thrilled to join these conversations that focus on the imperative for science translation and discussions relating to why universities might lead in bridging the science policy gap. But at the back of our minds, we are also aware that there's a need to fulfill society needs and to address research, which normally appears a lot in the scientific journals and maybe in our university archives, but is never used to solve problems of the day. But we are that our smallholder farmers have needs, and these needs are urgent. And to address these needs, we need evidence-informed policy that ensures that national strategies for food security are rooted in practical, scientific reality. And then this requires us to engage into building research, policy engagement. And there are three important domains or facets that relate to this engagement. The first one is the public dialogue, where we have organized lectures that involve policymakers, researchers, students, that can promote meaningful exchange of ideas between the academia and the government and other agencies. It also requires policy skills where participants gain practical skills in policy communication, stakeholder mapping, audience aggregation, and maximum influence. And the last one is the simplification of how we can deal with the research jargon, make it more user-friendly, actionable. And then it resonates to the expectations of those who are not scientists or those who are beneficiaries at the end of the tunnel. So Chambogo University, with support from AgriFoSe2030 Hub, had quite a number of objectives, but strongly from 2022, our focus has been on strengthening the capacity of researchers, innovators, and graduate students. And secondly, linking scientific research to policy and development practice. Out of those objectives and endeavors, we've had some meaningful impact, and I can enumerate them. One of them is having over 30 regional researchers trained in policy translation and audience aggregation. A series of public lectures have been organized involving high-level stakeholders and lawmakers. And then the science translation course has been migrated into the Chambogo University formal graduate training. And lastly, Chambogo University is now being recognized as a regional hub for evidence-informed policy research in Africa. We continue to share our vision, the leadership vision, as there should be a deliberate effort to transform research for effective utilization of our institution. Scientists must conduct studies that are solution-based. That's our leadership vision. And Chambogo University, in a specific way, also has a vision of becoming Africa's center of excellence for evidence-informed policy research, innovation, and academic collaboration. With these endeavors that are put across, I think the conversation about universities' role in supporting translation of research into policy and practice is timely, and I think we need to strengthen it and give it intentional deliberations. I acknowledge all our supporters from AgriFoSe2030, the KIU leadership, and all other strategic partners in other universities in Uganda, Africa, and abroad, our lawmakers, students, and participants. So once again, I thank you so much for inviting me, and thank you so much for this very important engagement.
Thank you so much, Professor James Mugisha. That was really insightful and interesting, and we look forward to hear more from Chiambogo University. Now we have the Deputy Governor back with us, but we will wait with your presentation and let Professor David Okello-Winnie go before you. And I hope that works. Professor David is an associate professor of veterinary medicine and deputy vice chancellor for academic affairs at the Gulu University, which is the other partner university in the hub in Uganda. He holds a PhD from Stellenbosch University and served for many, many years at Makerere University in different academic and leadership roles. Shall we see that your image and sound is working? It was before. Welcome to give your keynote speech.
Thank you. Thank
I
you
should
very
say,
much.
I should say I'm sharing the slides for you. So tell me when you want to see the next slide.
Please, you share the slides.
We cannot see them in the studio. Give us a second, Professor David. Give us a second, Professor.
Thank you for sharing my presentation.
Great. Go ahead.
Thank you for sharing my Have you unmuted me?
Yes. No, we hear you. We hear you.
For sharing my presentation. Are you getting me?
Yes. Yes, we
Hello?
can hear you. We can hear you. Oh, he can't hear us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Great.
Okay.
Go
Okay,
ahead.
that's just the introductory slide. Professor David Okelowin, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Gulu University. As it has been said, I worked for many years in Makerere University. I also worked in the Directorate of Research and Graduate Training in Makerere University, where I participated in the management of the CEDA funding to Makerere University, CEDA Phase 4, before I came to Gulu University. Next slide.
If it works for me, I'm
Next
trying.
slide.
Yes, there you go.
Yes. Gulu University is a government university located in Gulu City in northern Uganda, some 400 kilometers from Kampala northwards. The purpose of establishing this university was to increase access to higher education and revitalize agricultural production, industrialization, and rural development in the post-conflict northern Uganda that was just emerging from the wars of about 20 years. The vision of Gulu University is to be a leading academic institution for promotion of transformation and industrialization for sustainable agriculture. This is in line with the AgriFoSe2030 aspirations that targets the UN Sustainable Development Goal 2, which is ending hunger and promoting sustainable agriculture. Gulu University benefited immensely from the funding under the MAC-SIDA capacity building program, from which it trained about 20 PhDs and up to 50 masters. These were all staff and they are all working in the university or here in Gulu, and the one leading AgriFoSe in Gulu University is a beneficiary of MAC-SIDA funding, is a PhD holder. Gulu University has a policy on community engagement, which provides the interface between research and training, making the university relevant and responsive to societal needs and national development. AgriFoSe2030 through Kiambogo University has been mentoring Gulu University as a new entrant into AgriFoSe2030. And the mentoring has focused on enhancing science translation into policy for community transformation and sustainable development. Next slide. Next slide. Yes, in this mentoring, we have achieved about three things. One is science to policy training that was conducted here in Gulu, and it was about bridging the gap where Kiambogo University and Gulu University worked together to train our staff, and the objectives were to equip the researchers with the skills to simplify complex data and clearly communicating evidence to policymakers and practitioners in simple terms and in languages that they understand so easily. Secondly, was to influence policy by understanding how research can inform national and regional decisions. The flyer there shows the training that was posted online to invite people to apply. Next. This training was hands-on training, and the participants used scientific articles to simplify information into languages which are understandable by non-science communities, including farmers and policymakers. So this slide is to show how the training went on. There was an interactive training with a lot of engagements, and it was also practical. Next slide. The skills learned from this science translation training included that the researchers and PhD students gain practical skills in translating scientific findings into actionable policy narratives. In addition to that, the participants improved their communication skills for engaging policymakers and non-academic stakeholders like farmers. Then, in addition, the training strengthened the competencies in the stakeholders analysis, policy mapping, and preparation of policy briefs. And that slide is showing when I was giving an opening remarks during the training. Next slide. Okay, number two is that Gulu University benefited from institutional and from institutional and academic benefits were got by Gulu University. Gulu University identified gaps in the current research dissemination practices through practical workshops in theory of change and science translation. Besides that, the faculty leaders, the deans, the directors, and the staff enhanced their understanding of evidence-based policy engagement and being adopted. Those policies were being adopted into other projects like BSU, which is Building Stronger Universities. They have already been writing policy briefs, but this training enhanced their understanding and improved their way of doing the evidence-based policy engagement and translation of scientific data into policy briefs. The university at the end committed itself to integrating science to policy modules in graduate training curricula so that this can provide a means of sustainability. Next slide. There were also regional and societal impact. One was the training positioned Gulu University as a regional hub for science policy engagement and sustainable development. Number two is that the program strengthened the partnership with the Kiambogo University that has played the role of mentoring Gulu University under AgriFoSe2030. The initiative supports tangible societal impact by ensuring research informs laws, governance, and food security policies. In addition to that, the university disseminates the findings to community towards promoting Northern Uganda as a food basket. On this note, as a young university, we are about 22, 25 years old right now, and just joined AgriFoSe 2030. We implore that more trainings in science, communication, theory of change, and societal impact be conducted. On that note, I would like to end here by appreciating Mark Sida for capacity development of Gulu University staff, those number of 20 PhDs and the masters, of about 25 of them. It's no mean achievement, and we thank Mark Sida for that. We also thank AgriFoSe 2030 for supporting cross-cutting courses, that is the science, translation, and theory of change trainings that have been taking place. Then I thank Gulu University, the Great Lakes Regional Hub for AgriFoSe for mentoring Gulu University. I end here. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. That was really, really interesting to hear about Professor David, especially on theory of change and the science translation courses. That is great. And I hope we can bring you back in the Q&A later. We won't have a time for questions now, but hopefully in the Q&A we can take the opportunity to ask you some questions. So warm thank you to both those presentations from the university representatives. And now we're going to try with Professor Augustus Nuwagaba, the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda again, because I think we have him back and we've sorted his presentation. So let's see if we can hear him now. Are you there with us?
Thank you very much.
Yes,
thank
great.
you very much. I think I can be audible, I think.
Yes, you are. You are. We hear you clearly.
Let me put my video, see my face as well. Let me put the video, see people should be able to see my video as well.
Can we see it? We can see it. We can see it.
Yeah, that is me.
Nice.
So thank you very much.
Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much. What we are discussing is the importance of research and how it links in the policy, and I'm very glad to have been invited for this very, very important discussion to look at agriculture, food security, and how research can translate into policy and impact. So we need to ask a number of questions, and the question is, how do we promote institutionalization of scientific research to impact decision-making for socioeconomic transformation in our countries? And here we need to ask important questions, and one of them is to make sure that research that we conduct is evidence-based. And the important question here is, what is evidence-based research? Why evidence-based research? And what does it mean for research and development institutions to have research that is evidence-based? And the most important thing which I've discovered, for me, I've been in the university for 26 years. I've served at Makerere for close to 30 years, as you can see. But what I discovered as we conducted our research is failure for researchers to research on what we refer to as global issues and the transmission of those issues into our domestic economies. So when you are conducting research, it is important to ensure that the research you are going to conduct is relevant. The questions are relevant at the global level. Yes, very, very good. But how is that question transmitted to domestic economy and also to households at community level, and even in many cases to individual level? So that's very, very important. The other question or the other issue I have, which is a bone to pick, I have a bone to pick with our researchers, is to focus really and normally on macro indicators without focusing very much on what we call granular data. You need to know that while we need national indicators, GDP, exchange rate, growth rate, the way we know the economic fundamentals, is that these are very, very important at national level. But if you are looking at, for example, at what are the drivers of wealth creation, what are those drivers? These drivers is not necessarily a very, very heavy government investment in roads, in infrastructure, in energy, and so on. It is to understand what are those drivers that will make households tap those opportunities to be able to increase their livelihoods at that household level. This is granular data. So we need to therefore find a convergence between macro and micro level data and research, and this is what governments are interested in. So you need therefore to look at nationwide indicators and also household or farm level data. Number three, you need to know that the research we conduct, and I was very, very emphatic at Makerere. I worked very, very closely also with the Professor Katunguka, who is the Vice Chancellor in Chambogo University, and I was actually chairman. I also was given the opportunity to be chairman of academic staff, both at Makerere and also in public universities. And I was able to inculcate in the teachers, in the professors, the need for objectivity in research. This is what science is about. The need for validity, the need for conducting research using reliable data, and the data that is empirical, so that when you are talking, people can know what you are talking about, and it will not change. If somebody comes and does the same research, that finding should not change. That's what science is about. It is non-biased, it's subjective, analysis is robust, rigorous, and the findings can be relied on to make policy. This is where the problem is. Then number 4 is communication. How do we communicate research findings? This is very, very important. And me, what I used to do at Makerere is to ensure that when I'm conducting research, from initial stages, I, for example, include the Minister of Finance, Bank of Uganda, Uganda Bureau of Statistics, the medical school. If the research, for example, is talking about community health, health economics, access to financing health care, how can you talk about financing health care when you are not involving now the medical school, you are not involving the Minister of Health, you are not involving Uganda Bureau of Statistics? We need critical engagement at that level. And then you need the language which people can understand, which government can understand, which policy can understand. Because also at universities, we have a habit as academics of using very complex language, stochastic modeling, dynamic equilibrium, and so on. Now, when you use those complex terminologies, and this could be important for us in promotion, and using very complicated models, they could be important in our papers for promotion, but they're not important for somebody who's looking at how can PDM, we currently have money in government, which the government is giving communities to improve livelihoods at the parish level, at the lowest unit of organization of our communities. So what the government needs there, it does not need stochastic modeling, nor does it need dynamic equilibrium. It needs how can this money reach these groups of youth, groups of women, and the money is utilized properly, and the money is plowed back, and also it is remitted back, and is revolved back to be able to give it to another person. That's all. Anybody who answers that question, that's a very, very important research to government. So what are the tools, therefore, do you use to communicate this? Is what is important and what people in the policy are looking at. Then we need to know that, let me come now specifically to agriculture. Let's go to agriculture economy. We all know that Uganda's economy is based on agriculture. 23% of our GDP comes from agriculture, agribusiness, agro-value chains. And for us in the central bank now, we need to know, people needed to know, Ugandans needed to know, especially who are on call, that our inflation currently is divided into two. We have what you call headline inflation. Headline inflation has been about 2.9 to about 3.4. And headline inflation means the average change in prices of commodities, including food crops. And in Uganda, I can firmly assert that our inflation is driven by actually food crops. It is driven by headline factors. So this is very, very important. So if you are researching, for us now in the policy, we need to know what can we do to stabilize prices, particularly of food crops. Can we have irrigation infrastructure to be able to control now production? Can we have roads infrastructure to be able to link production and consumptive centers and so on? So anybody doing research must anchor your research questions in this regard. And this is what government is looking at. And this is what, like for us in the central bank, we are looking at when we talk about agriculture. Export sector performance, that 50% of our exports earnings in Uganda as we speak right now is agriculture. I think for this year, coffee receipts have generated $2.5 billion. Coffee receipts, cocoa receipts, $873 million. So you can see that agriculture still comprises.
Yeah. Are you there with us?
What we need to
Yes.
know now.
We lost you for a little bit, just for a few seconds.
Is it okay now?
You're back now. You're back. Great.
So what I was saying is that 50% again of the our export sector performance is agriculture, is agro products, coffee receipts, $2.5 billion this year, which was very, very wonderful. Cocoa, $873 million, and so on. So the research that we want, like in this regard, would be if coffee is constituted, coffee receipts are comprising $2.5 billion and is the premier product, is in finance, we call it the material, is the material commodity that is bringing in the largest receipts. What can we do to now enhance production, enhance quality? What will be the drivers for quality of this coffee? Uganda is number 8 in volume, number 3 in quality of coffee, and Ugandan coffee is used for blending other types of coffee. So how can we make our robust coffee both increase in production, 2 increase in quality? What is this kind of research that we want in that area? That is the research that will be very, very important. And there's nobody in the government who would not take you seriously, who would not really ensure that you are even funded in this. Then we go to employment. 70% of the population in Uganda is employed in agriculture, despite the fact that only 23% of GDP is agriculture, with 43.3% from services, but still you can see that a quarter of the GDP comes from a sector which contribute, which employs. Can you imagine the paradox here? 70% of the population. So what is the problem here? So here the problem now, if you can see the implication, is that you can have agriculture which is driving this growth. Coffee, yes, is doing well, cocoa is doing well, and so on. But then the sector still lacks transformation. It is not transforming. It can grow, but is not transforming. Why? Because the sector which still employs more people is not the one that is contributing to GDP. And there what the research question is that how can we make now agriculture transformation to ensure that how do you do that? You have to do research in how we can add value addition to agriculture, transform agriculture from only production, raw materials, to now drive industry. So what will be those factors that will make agriculture a driver of industrialization? And this is what we are talking. This now the research, those who want research questions, those will be the real research questions. I'm coming almost to finish. Then we have agriculture. If you look at agriculture and economic value chain, we are looking at food security in this meeting. But this food security, we need to try to move further and and translate it into agro-industrialization. And the Ugandans who are on this call know that our program number 1, our Uganda government, we are running the government under what we call programs. We have 20 of those programs. And program number 1 is agro-industrialization. So while we have now agriculture for food security, which is very fundamental, because I've worked in many countries in Somalia and Central African Republic, I've been in Nigeria, I've worked with African Development Bank everywhere, and these are 55 African countries. But having food, sufficient food production is very, very fundamental. This is one of the premier commodities that we can have. But we need also to know that you need now to translate, you need to transcend that food security now to adding value addition and go to agro-industrialization. Why? Because when you have money, I can, in Kampala here, I don't have a garden, but I can access any food I want. So also by having what Amartya Sen was at the London School of Economics in 1992. So Amartya Sen came to give us a lecture on the, remember the book he had written on the Band of Rights. There was a famine in Bangladesh in 1974, and that's where his PhD was, and the book which he wrote, and the Band of Rights. But there was a famine in Bangladesh which killed over 2 million people. But there was food. His analysis is that there was food in shops, there was rice in shops. What lacked was the band of what Amartya Sen called the Band of Rights. Those capacities that will make you access the food. So food security, the country can have food, but you don't have food at household level. What will make you not have that food? Because you don't have the rights to access food. What are those rights? It is a band of rights embedded in having money that can make you be able to go to the shop and present money, and then you get food. That's why we are talking about agro-industrialization to ensure that it can drive industrialization, people get employment and so on, and they can be able to earn and have wealth creation as a result of agriculture and agribusiness and so on. So I would therefore in this meeting want to redefine food security. We need to redefine food security. Food security can be understood in terms of factor markets. You cannot have sufficient food production without having land, without a good labor, without capital. Capital can be physical capital, can be financial capital, can be social capital. These are very, very much required. And in Uganda, we don't have, this would take us a whole week to discuss about our land, how our land market is, how it is heavily constrained, and our land market needs to be freed, and so on. Then you have to commercialize agriculture and agribusiness so that you have now domestic, regional, and international markets.
Dear Professor,
Coffee,
may I ask
yes,
you to wrap up? I don't want to, but we don't have enough time.
I'm just finishing.
Yes.
I'm just finishing this, I think, the second last slide.
Great.
Yeah, this is the second last slide. Then the shocks. Let me go to this last slide, which is the shocks. Number one is climate change. Number two is geopolitical tensions. Number three is technology change. Number four is financing, and financing is a very, very serious problem because we don't have any bank here or any institution that you can access to get agricultural finance. And then the impact, this is the very, very last one. The impact pathway for bridging this research and real transformation gap is one. You need to talk about financing research because most of the agenda is driven by foreign funding, which cannot solve our domestic demand in terms of policy. Then you have strategic alignment. Our research must align with the national and international blueprints. Here we have a national development plan. We have SDGs at the national level. And three, you must have research think tanks. And here in Uganda, we are very, very powerful in terms of this. We have the Economic Policy Research Center here at Makerere. We have African Economic Research Consortium. We have a Custom House in London. We have a neighbor in the US. So these kind of institutions generate robust data that can now drive this policy. And when you are doing research, make sure you link with these kinds of very high level and high crowd institutions. Then you need collaboration with experiential learning, changing theory to now practice, and then creation of synergies with other institutions, the Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Health, and so on, and then be able to have skills transfer from now very high crowd areas to universities and create consortia which are able to attract now funding. So what have I said in this meeting is that in conclusion, you need to ensure that as academia, we must have a language to communicate our research findings, which are based on a known existential problem, and then we communicate to research which can be in a language understood by policy, and then that's when it can be able to drive decision-making, which everybody is looking at. I'm very happy to have been invited, and thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you so much, Professor Augustus Nwagaba and Deputy Governor. That was really insightful, and I wish we could listen more to you. And hopefully, you can stay through the event, and we might have an opportunity to ask a question to you afterwards. But we have to move swiftly on. So I will move to the project presentation, the case study by Judith and Peter. So we have Dr. Judith Nagasha, who's a social scientist with almost 2 decades of experience in indigenous knowledge system, climate change, gender, and food security. And she is the hub leader for at the Ugandan hub at Gyambogo University. And with her, we also have Dr. Peter Muzinguzi, who's a senior lecturer and head of agriculture production department at the same university. He's a veterinarian, a researcher, and educator. And I know that we have also a film that we will show after their presentation. So over to you, Judith. Very nice to have you here. I hope we can hear you now. Let's test.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yes.
And can you hear me?
We can hear you. And shall we put on the slides and see that it works at the same time as we can see your video?
We can move to the next slide since you introduced me.
Yes.
On this slide, I want to give a little frustration about my academic career and how it got to work with AgriFoSe and changing the narratives of researchers. After my PhD, I asked myself, what next? Because research in publishing papers, looking for promotions, but after interacting with the community I'm working with up to now in AgriFoSe, I said, how do we make interventions? How do we work it out? So I consulted my mentor, who then was my supervisor, and I found out that he has also well published, full professor at Makerere, well published, but there was an issue in western part of the country that time, long drought crisis, and he had knowledge published in papers, but there was no kind of translation. And yet, you'll find that Ugandan government spends millions of dollars responding to the crisis, and yet we have solutions hidden in publications. So the challenge was not the absence of solutions here, but the failure to translate research findings. And along the way, I got a training with a CIDA, the International Training Program, where it was about health, livestock, and food, safe food. And I was attached to a mentor that time. And that mentor happened to be the director of AgriFoSe then, Professor Sophia, who introduced me to the approach and methodologies of AgriFoSe. So I'm really privileged to have started working with him and mentoring me and changing also my mindset and also ushering me to a point where I can work hand in hand with other colleagues to close the loop between research and outputs and their application. Next slide. And the objectives of the Ugandan hub, which I lead, the Great Lakes hub, our objectives act as regional transformative platforms, and we bridge the long-standing gaps between academicians, public policy, and practical community solutions. We also aim at revitalizing universities' role as engines of societal transformation. We also play a critical role in creating inter-university networks and promoting research uptake and policy impact. And I think we have managed to recruit Gulu University, where we have done trainings. Also, it also aims at partnering and helping a new generation of policy-aware scientists capable of designing solutions that are research-oriented and also respond to the community needs. So our current partners are in Gulu, Chambogo, and also other public universities who have brought Makerere on board, Ustema University on board, and Kabale University. Next slide. And the core objectives for these core areas, we do trainings in theory of change for research impact. We do trainings in translating science into policy and practice. And we also have very key good projects, flagship projects under this hub. We have the gender milk responsive value addition, and also the urban food system resilience to food and drought. And this one is housed at Makerere University. Next slide. What has happened so far since we started the journey with AgriFoSe? We are seeing scientists around our communities, around our universities, more engaged in co-creating knowledge with local communities, strengthening interface between science, policy, and practices. And also we can see amplified societal impact. It's work in progress. We are not yet there, but it's work in progress because we are trying to change the narrative. And we're also seeing continued institutional transformation, whereby the universities are trying to institutionalize some of these programs, like at Chambogo University. Translating science into policy and practice has been taken up as a short course under our Directorate of Research and Graduate Training. And we are also working hard to make sure that we have policy-minded researchers and researchers that are and research-minded policymakers. Next slide. And our new kind of research, who is what policy and practice minded, where the skills are. As a researcher, we try to act as a researcher, think like a policymaker, understand what catches policymakers' attention, and how to reach them. Because there's a big gap, we have on one side of the academic world, and then the policymakers, then practitioners, then communities. So we are trying to reach the gap using different languages, appropriate languages in these communities. And we are also adopting to different methods of bridging this gap. We also work closely with an organization called Research Finds News, owned by a journalist, but who can easily translate science research findings into news. Now he gets newsletters from our research findings, and he breaks down the scientific language. And we also used design theories like theory of change, different impact pathways around the scientific evidence. So with us, we're also trying to train communication of science. And in this, I must say that we have had difficult language in communicating, but we have brought the two PRO offices at Gulu University and Chambogo to understand what we do. And we are happy that those offices are trying to understand what researchers do, and they are also helping us to simplify our translations of our findings. Next slide. And what we have done practically with a part of science translation, we have collaborated with other partners. For example, with the Gender Milk Value Addition Project, yes, we had the knowledge as academicians, but practicalities, we had to involve Uganda Research Industry Institute to train the processing, the value additions in these communities. And then GIZ came in to train the clean energy component, as you'll get to see that in the videos. And then also we are also translating all that we do into the local languages. When we go out to the communities, we don't go with our scientific jargons. We do different, go through to radio stations, tell stories, and make sure that the communities also understand this. We are also collaborating with experts from the local communities and also policymakers. We have had quite a number of public lectures at Chambogo University, getting politicians to come and listen from us, and we also listen from them so that we can have a buy-in platform. And also building stronger relationships with different universities. I think we have trained so far since 2022 universities, Burkina Faso, Tanzania, Kenya, Rwanda, and Ethiopia. We have done that. And we are also in touch with those universities. Considering, and we are also now, our next step is to establish expert desks at universities for policymakers to reach out to and consult on key issues. Next slide. So this is the joy of science translation. When we are out in the communities, you can see the joy on my face there, one of the pictures. We have local community radio talk shows. Communities call in, ask questions, especially when we're in the field. At times we end up on local radio stations in the evening to reach out to communities, a wider audience. Next slide. And also the joy, the time we penetrated that community some time back, people are using firewood for processing. And now you can see we are saying goodbye fire smoke, and hello biogas power. On the next picture, you can see how the community, now there is no smoke in the next picture. Next slide. And then that is also the joy of translation. That is a biogas digester in one of the communities. In the middle picture, people are training, and that is a facility that was put up. That is a production unit set up by the communities. Next slide. And I really want to thank AgriFoSe for the mentorship, for the training, supporting us as universities in the sub-Saharan Africa. I also want to thank the communities we work with out there, Uganda Research Industry Institute, GIZ, the hub partners, Gulu University, Makerere, Gonda, the University of Moshi, Tanzania, Research Finds News, the Rwanda Institute of Policy and Research, and then the community professors, because these people in the communities have also their indigenous knowledge that we learned from. And last but not least, thank the management of Gulu University, the collaborator, Dr. Enos Chitambo, Gulu University, and both PROs, Chambago University and Gulu University. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Judith. Do we have Peter there to continue straight away? Oh, excellent. And then we will show the film, and maybe Judith, you might want to say some final words after the film. But over to Peter first.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going straight into we call it GEMVAM, but it's Advancing Gender Responsive Milk Value Addition and Enhancing Access, Sustainable Market and Energy Resources. This is among the smallholder livestock farmers and the case of Chiruhura district in Western Uganda. Next slide, please. So, as Judith said, this project of 2025 is a sequel of an initial project which was started in 2023, entitled GEMVAM, but this time it was looking at the improving safety and value addition. We envisaged that we found that women play a significant role in activities related to animal husbandry and dairy production, but also the participation concentrated on the handling level in the less profitable activities. Next slide, please. So constraints were identified, and these constraints, we found that society was highly patriarchal, and to women, no finances were trickling in. The milk was mainly patronized by men, and women were just given a token, a little milk to produce ghee and other products, which we actually realized that these are high premium products, and that was our entry point. Next slide, please. So, AgriFoSe2030 dived into value addition. But before value addition, we had to meet the gatekeepers of the society, which were men, and bring them on board. We concentrated on women and the products that women produce in these societies, but we needed the buy-in from the men. So we did lots of training, which both gave us that buy-in, but also having gotten the buy-in, we now brought in the value addition. So we had preliminary products, which were mainly cosmetics, the ghee and yogurt. And then we looked at the safety of the milk, and we looked at the safety of these products, and we skilled these women through Uganda Industrial Research Institute to produce these products. Next slide, please. So, in AgriFoSe2025, what have we done? We have gotten the products from the 2023 interventions and prepared them for branding, marketing, and quality assurance through certification with the Uganda National Bureau of Standards to improve the competitiveness of these products. Next slide, please. So we have gone ahead and using these products, come up with new products. For example, we have trained farmers in confectionery. We have trained farmers to enhance their skills, and we have used their own products. For example, this bread and cakes and all these confectionaries are using just their preliminary milk products like ghee, instead of using the butter on the shelves of supermarkets and all that. And then we enhanced market skills through introducing digital marketing, mainly through the youths. These youths are the children of these, mainly these women who are doing these products. Next slide, please. So the other intervention was green energy. Green energy, we realized that we needed a healthy working environment free of pollution, but also there was a key critical question of fuel. They are using firewood, which was scarce, expensive, and unhealthy. So we introduced biogas, which is green, is cheap, and very healthy. And thanks to GIZ, our collaboration with GIZ, we managed to come up with these technologies. Next slide, please. In conclusion, bringing the men on board was the key game changer. The women were able to contribute more to key family decisions because of the economic empowerment. And then the quality of products was much more appreciated. And the partnerships were very key. And these partnerships with Uganda Industrial Research Institute, with GIZ, and with other players, especially at the districts and sub-counties, the extension workers, the community development workers, and the leadership of these areas, those were key partnerships. Next. Yeah, we acknowledge AgriFoSe2030, Chambogo University, and their partners in the field. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter. We will see now if we can start the video screening.
Amazina banyita Victor Murungi, ni chairperson wa Quiver ekikuririzibwa nka Kiruhura Women in Valley Addition. Ntusiima munonga abakyamboga batwegyese ebintu bingi ebituriyo nitukora. Kandi byona ebitukora nitubiiha omu products z'ente. So nitukora yogurt, tukora amashuta g'okwesiiga, tukora amashuta g'okurya, byona ebya bakery nitubikora. Tugaruka tuguza. Kandi baija bagaruka batwombekyera na biogas. Hati tukugiteekyesa hati manure erikurugamu egaruka eyamba aha bihingwa byaitu. Mbwenu nibyo tubigobere really tubigire okusiima munonga aba AgriFoSe.
Amazina ninyetwa Regis Kabengana, ninkora nka secretary omu kitumbe ekya Alproje abakyara Torigo. Tujya twatumbaho okwezi kubwo AgriFoSe bakatwara batutraininga kubaasa kukora amate, kubaasa kukora amashuta, batutraininga okukora cakes. Bakatuheereza fridge y'okuteekamu amate gaitu omu products eziturikukora. Abakyara buri sente zitokwihamu twaguraho products zasigara tuziservinga abakyara bazeeguza baza kukozesa nigo bakuba nibeenda kukora omu maka gaabo.
Mazina ashebesti amataka gatukozereke nkigwa abashiija nangwigwa bamaka aba nkamukaso wanje nganyambire nk'etaasi abaana bitu bariyo nibashoma aba amataga n'amashitaga mbwenu ebintu nibigyenda nyuma mutaasa nimbaryaho ndeeta sabuni ngyegyera nti nagura ebitabo kandi nyeka kutambuza ebintu ebi nanaho kubitwara omu butare bwitu nibabisiima sikiine ningira nigireba abo amashuta g'abakazaara omu family yangye nigo bakozesa mbwenu tabura oshonga nibiiha.
Amazina gangye Namareke Parisi omu group egi eya Kyakabunga Women Entrepreneurs Yogurt ni vice chairperson. Kyambogo egi ekatwira n'okutandikana n'obucupa bw'okupaakingamu amashuta g'okwesiiga. Again bagaruka bayongyera batushashurira n'okutunga UNBS. Aba UNBS baregera kuturambura. So ntubasiima munonga ahabw'ebintu ebi barikukora n'obwengye obu barikutuheereza. Kyambogo omu bwekuringa n'obw'amaani.
Nita Josephine Kyamazima Mugarura, nye chairperson w'ekibiina eki Nyamiyaga Tukore Association. Twenda kusiima ekitongore kya AgriFoSe kutukureeba ngu bakatuteekamu amaani batuheereza biogas tagaruka kyatuheereza machine z'okukora sabuuni. Sabuuni egi nitugikoresa amajuta g'ente. AgriFoSe mukatuheereza entaasya erikubaasa kubiisaho amaka gitu. Asante sana.
That was great. Judith, do you want to say any final words after that video, or are you happy? Can I move on?
Thank you, Anli. Just excited to see the impact in the communities and the joy of those women and working together with their male counterparts. Thank you very much, AgriFoSe, once again. Yeah.
Mm, excellent. And thank you for leading the hub and leading all of that work for these last years. And thank you for those inspiring presentations. And that film was quite powerful, really nice to see how it can seem like, you know, small steps on, but it is actually a transformation happening on the ground with the dairy sector. So that's really, really nice. Now it's very exciting because we have the panel still ahead of us, and we are a bit late, as I suspected, in our schedule, and we will run over time a little bit. And I hope we apologize for that, but you know, we're also so passionate about this topic, and we have such exciting things and presentations to show, so it's hard to keep the time. But if anyone needs to leave at the sharp 12:30 the Swedish time, you do so, but otherwise we might carry on for a little bit over the time. So in this panel, we will explore how these science translation hubs and universities can better connect research with policy, with innovation, and real-world change on the ground. And at the same time, boost comms, boost collaboration. And how can we build sustainability in that? How can we make it last for a very long time? And how can we make sure it's scaled up? So I would like to welcome Elizabeth up on stage here. We will be, yes, come and sit here. And I think that's your glass. And first I will introduce two online speakers who are with us today. We have first Professor Majaliva Manjalolo. I hope I pronounce your name correctly. He is the Manager of Research, Innovation and Development at an organization called RU Forum, which I'm sure many are familiar with. It's the Regional Universities Forum for Capacity Building in Agriculture. He's also a scholar with extensive research experience in agriculture research and higher education across Africa. So a warm welcome to you. And we also have a dear friend, Professor Robert Musendiru, who I know personally. I've been visiting through work and seen his research up close. He's the Executive Director of Research and Postgraduate Studies at Chino University in Zimbabwe. And he's the hub leader for the Southern Africa node for translating science into policy and practice. He focuses a lot on edible insects, and you will have seen outside the doors here in the studio, there was some cookbooks with edible insects that were produced a few years ago as part of the program. So warm welcome to you as well, and I see that you are both online, and that's great. And then we've had a secret guest here with us in the studio that is here for a visit, and we're very, very happy to have her with us, Miss Nyendo Mashua, who is a communications professional with over 15 years of experience. And she's a real expert on turning really complex science into clear and concise and impactful messages. I know I have seen it up close because she used to work at SEI. So she's been a colleague of mine and a colleague of in AgriFoSe program. She's also worked at AGRA, which now stands for, let me see, the Alliance for Green Revolution in Africa. But currently she is leading communications in Southern and Eastern Africa for IUCN, International Union for Conservation of Nature. Please welcome also up on stage. Let's have an applause for all the panelists. Great. I hope we see everyone and everything is okay in terms of the tech stuff. Yeah, that's great. I'm getting a thumbs up. I would like to start with quite a broad question to all of you, and we'll see if we have any volunteers. Why do you think science translation hubs are becoming so important today? And what are the gaps that they are trying to fill that, that traditional university structures can't manage, and conventional research system have struggled to address? Basically, what role do they fill? And I wonder who would like it. Do we have someone who wants to say something on this online? RU Forum or Professor Robert?
I'm ready to start.
Yes, please go ahead, Professor Majaliva.
Yeah, thank you very much for that nice question. Thank you for all the participants and the audience, all the protocol reserved. Currently, the situation in the world is becoming more and more complex, and the issue of food insecurity on the continent is actually becoming more alarming. And therefore, we actually need to put in place strategic mechanism to actually reduce on the food insecurity on the continent. The continent is facing major gaps in terms of converting scientific research into large-scale policy implementation, commercialization of innovation, but also measurable societal impact. And some of these challenges include weak linkages between industry and research, but also between research and policies, but also the aspect that most of our universities don't actually have a research agenda. Even the staff themselves don't have any research agenda. People move with what is available. So the fragmented nature of research system, but also a lack of academic incentive and limited funding for research actually push for a need for more strategic ways of translating science into communications which can actually reach the different stakeholders. There are certainly opportunities currently, and we need to take advantage of those existing opportunities. But also in terms of network, we want to push our university, our member universities, to lead the process.
How do you do that? How do you support them to lead this development?
Yeah, so we actually need to move from centers of knowledge generation to active drivers of innovation, positive policy transformation, but also positive.
We lost him a little bit. Let's see if he comes back. Yeah. Please, Robert, would you like to follow on that while we wait for Professor Majaliva to come back?
Thank you, Annelie. Greetings, viewers from Zimbabwe. I want to add by saying here in Zimbabwe and largely in Southern Africa, there's been a policy shift to demand higher education institutions to really add to the three existing pillars, which usually were research, teaching, and community engagement, to add into the aspects of innovation and improving industrialization within our countries. So with this narrative, our government has forced us to go beyond what we used to do, which means the research that we used to stock in theses and in various other academic documents are now needed to be translated into goods and services. And this is where science translation is coming up, and now to help the scientists to package this information into goods and services. I think this deliberate government or national government's focus has also helped to escalate the need for translating science into policy and practice. Thank you.
May I ask a follow-up question, Robert? Do you experience that you have the support needed from the governments? It's a great shift to hear about this, but
I'm very sorry.
we have Professor Yes.
Yeah, I had issues. I had issues of connection, so I had to move to
Professor
another room.
Marjaliva, can we just listen? We started asking Robert some questions, the same question. So we will just let him speak. Finish speaking, we can get back to you. Robert, so I'm wondering if there are any barriers as it is now, or in terms of, for example, funding is a very evident one. Or do you see that there is more support coming from the government with this shift?
Thank you. Let me start with the enablers, because that policy shift to say we need to translate science into policy and practice enabled the leadership within the higher education institutions to open up to the new narrative of translating science into practice. Yeah, of course, there are issues with funding, but at least there is that enabler that when we go to them, there is an ear that is open to really get this agenda to be moved forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Positive note there. Thank you. Do any one of you here in the studio want to add to this before I go over to Professor Marjaliva again?
Yeah. I think it's important for universities to be at the heart of translating science into policy, since they are the ones producing the research. So the training has to be improved and enhanced in a way that, just as Judith said, that there was a crisis in Uganda with drought, and the answers were right there in the publications and the research, which was data and evidence-based, but still the government, it was right there in front of them, but they just didn't recognize because it wasn't translated. They weren't made aware of the research. So it's important that the makers of the research, the originators of the research, then have these skills to enhance, to translate their research into policy and practice and communications outputs that are relevant to their target audiences.
May I ask you to go a little bit into detail? What are those skills? You as such a professional in science communication, what are those skills that researchers should prioritize when it comes to reaching out to the right stakeholders?
So how I see it is, science researchers have, it's like a T, right? They are very deep in science, but then they need to enhance this broad-based skills of communication, policy mapping, storytelling. So I think there are three skills that I would say are important from my view. One is policy mapping. You need to know when to write a policy brief, how to approach it, how to lobby for it, how to translate your research into like a 2-page document. Because policy makers don't have time to read a 100-page report, so you have to compress it into, things that are digestible into pieces. I think the narrative framing is also another important skill for them to have. Just making sure that your research is evidence-based, so that when a policymaker sees these outputs, they can see there's actually research and data to back it up. I think the last thing is enhancing stakeholder engagement skills. So this is more relational, engaging with non-scientists, and I really appreciate that the universities are doing events and webinars that involve non-scientists, non-researchers, bringing them to this conversation. So those are the three skills I think would be important for them to build their science translation skills.
Thank you. Excellent. Elizabeth, do you want to add something at this point?
We can move.
Yeah. Please, Professor Marjaliva, did you want to finish something you were saying at that point? I was asking you how, I mean, I was about to ask you how, oh, did we lose him again, actually? Oh, no, here you are. Can you hear us? Let's see if Professor Majaliva can hear us.
Yeah, now I can hear you now.
Yes.
To move again to another place.
Yeah, no, but that's great that you're back. Did you want to conclude what you were saying, and then I can follow with a question?
Yeah, I think the most as critical aspect here is that in most of our countries, the extension system has become weak. And generally, research was supposed to be simplified by the extension system before it goes into the end users. So as my colleagues said, dealing with this kind of situation, we need to train the scientists to actually communicate and simplify their research output into a language which can be understandable by the different stakeholders. Packaging this needs skills, and those skills should be integrated into our training system.
Yes.
But the other aspect which we need to actually take into consideration is that what are the incentives available for people to repackage their research output to the different stakeholders, and what is really the ecosystem put in place to make sure that this happens. Currently, we are moving to incubation hubs, which is a good way of translating already some of the research output into practical things or innovation to be commercialized. People have gone into innovation labs, which is also another way, a good way of actually taking some of this knowledge into communities. We have had some kind of innovation platform doing the same, where the scientists, the researchers, and all the other stakeholders could actually meet and provide some kind of backup for the system to increase productivity. We need to stop, not to stop at publication, because most of the case for us academicians is that we do research, we publish, and we stop there. But some of the institutions now, even when you publish, they may not actually take your publication into your promotion, because probably you are second or third author. So those kind of incentives put by university could actually also be a boost to translation of research into practice and innovation. I could first stop there for a moment.
Very good, and I'm sure that's one of the things that AgriFoSe is working on through the hub work, of course, and that makes me want to turn to Elizabeth, that we have here. From your perspective as a program director, what do you see as the most important lesson when it comes to creating this long-term impact, related also to institutionalization and moving beyond just the individual projects?
Yeah, thank you for a good question. I think from a bit an outside perspective, I mean, I'm not into the day-to-day work, but when we started 10 years ago, I think we are all researchers, a lot of researchers, and it was a bit difficult for all of us, because this is a kind of a mindset we're not really trained in during the PhD, for example. So we were kind of trying a bit in the beginning. We had a lot of different projects, but then when we came to this more structured way of with this method, but also we haven't mentioned it, but we have the MEL strategy, monitoring, evaluation, and learning, which is equally important, because now it's not been just something we are forced to do, but really like a helping hand, like checking in every 6 months, to check, are we still the right person? Do we need someone else? Are the assumptions still valid? So we can really tweak. So that is one thing. But then I also think we had to have quite a lot of success projects to have like a critical mass, both of projects, so we could show, now we have the 17 one we can showcase, and we also have a critical mass of people that knows how to do the translation more or less. So we have this critical mass, and then it was very timely. And we have to remember, we only have the hubs for 18 months. 17 months actually, and the first month was a lot of contracts, so I would almost say like a little bit more than just a year. So I think that we couldn't do that earlier, I think, with the house, but it was very timely now because we have all the projects and we could have this bottom up presenting to top leadership that this is something that is working. So I think that there's a lot of, it's not just one factor contributing to this.
Super, thank you, Elizabeth. And I'm wondering actually if we can, because we didn't manage to ask questions to the other keynote speakers because of the time. But now that we're going over time a little bit, I would like to give the opportunity we start with the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Uganda, Professor Augustus Nuwagaba. If you're still with us, I would like to ask you a question. Since you have actually a long career also in academia as a researcher and have since, do we have him joining us first? Shall we check his sound before I ask the question?
Yes, I'm on.
Yeah, great. So my question, you've now risen to the highest level of national policymaking in Uganda. In what ways has your research training shaped or sort of informed your work as a policymaker? And what are your two pieces of advice that you would like to offer researchers? Skills to develop or principles to keep in mind to make their work useful for policymaking?
Yeah, thank you very much. What has really helped me, as I told you, I was at Makerere for 26 years, is that the research I conducted was driven by a global problem that is prevailing. And the word global here means a problem that, of course, afflicts many people. And then when I embark on that research, it is a question that everyone is looking for an answer. For example, my PhD was in what are the policy approaches for poverty reduction at that time, which were being followed by the World Bank and other multilaterals. And actually in Uganda, for a very long time, I was called a poverty professor. Why? Because poverty afflicted everyone. And if you come to Uganda and you talk about poverty reduction, wealth creation, then my name obviously props up as number one. So I want to argue that when you are conducting research, you must ensure that the problem you are answering, the research questions, are those questions which are, of course, prevailing not only at the national level, but also in communities and in households. So after, therefore, conducting this research, it brought me to the fore. Government looked for me. When we were making the Poverty Eradication Action Plan, government, of course, looked for me. I was the one who was leading this process in the Ministry of Finance. I sat on the audit committee of the Ministry of Finance. So I discovered that you need to do research which is not only going to be relevant, but also is going to assist both the macro level intervention and also household to increase livelihoods. My advice to researchers is that please don't conduct research for the sake of conducting research because you have some money to conduct research. In as much as you can do that, but it's important to conduct research that is going to be impactful, that is going to be used, that is going to create what we call experiential learning. So that when you conduct that research as academic exercise, it's not only for promotion. Yes, I was promoted up to professor level, but I also found myself entering into the actual national realm of policy making in the Ministry of Finance, in the Bank of Uganda. Here, the Bank of Uganda hired me a lot. I remember in the 1990s for currency policy formulation, I used to go with the government on a very high level delegations in the World Bank, in the IMF for arguing cases and so on. So you need to do research that is going to make you relevant in policy. And what you need to do in order to achieve this is that you have to learn to communicate. You have to learn to engage. You see, when we are doing research, it is like politics.
Yeah.
You need to know whom to engage, whom to talk to. It's not a matter of talking. It's not a matter of communication. I developed a number of documentaries, policy briefs, videos, audiovisual. I became even a quorum. I became a quorumist in the government lead paper with the New Vision, and the Ugandans know this. I was a quorumist. I wrote in the New Vision, which is the leading newspaper, for 3 years, and I wrote there. I had a page. Can you imagine every week? So I wrote 160 something articles, and all of them in savings, investment, how is money, what is all the money, what is new money, how can families have family enterprises at household level, and so on. So that I will now communicate my information properly in print media, to the broadcasting media, visuals, and so on. So that is my advice. And this is what we have been able to do. And I want to thank you so much.
Excellent. I want to thank you so much, Professor Nwagaba. I want to turn to the university representatives, but maybe someone here in the panel have any reflections of what Professor Nwagaba just said that they want to add to.
Yeah, I think it's pretty impressive what he has managed to do, and how he's risen the ranks is because of the visibility of his research, which is such a wasted opportunity, especially in Africa, where researchers do amazing work, data-driven, evidence-based, but they just sit on the shelves. It's like, I've done the research, what's next? And I like
what's the next project?
Yeah.
Next funding
yeah. Instead of using the solutions that they have, take them to where it belongs, to maybe to governments, policymakers, to communities.
Yeah. Professor Majaliva, or Robert, any quick, very brief reflections?
Yeah, I just want to overemphasize what the colleagues on the platform have said about monitoring and evaluation. Universities should actually start monitoring and evaluating their own impact. It should not be aggregated at national level with social accounting metrics, but they should actually be extracted for every university for them to readjust and their program to become more relevant. And this will actually mean that the end users should actually be should be included in the research from the beginning, and not at the end when we are supposed to communicate.
No.
They should actually participate in the entire process. Thank you. I've submitted.
Thank you. Great. Robert.
Thank you, Anneli. If I can add, I think one of the most important things that we have realized as a good entry point is to involve the postgraduate students, because these are like the more vibrant and upcoming scientists, future scientists. So it's very good to capture them at that level, so that they already have skills at an earlier stage. So that as they move along the academic channel, they are already capacitated to translate science into practice. So we have really found this to be very important as an entry point to the institutions that we have here in Southern Africa. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This is a very interesting discussion, and I'm really looking forward to the hub development. As you said, it's only been 1.5 years, and there's still lots to come with the development, and some impact stories we will surely see soon. We have very little time left, but if I have Professor David Okello-Winnie still with us, I was wondering how you see the role of the university. How critical is it in advancing the use of this approach of science, the importance of science translation? Do we have you here? Otherwise, we will start rounding off.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm still around.
Great.
Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Thank you very. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Indeed, it is very, very critical, the roles of universities in this approach. Universities like Gulu University and Makerere, Kiambogo, we are all public universities, and we get funding from government. That is public money. It is coming from society. So universities have to be accountable. They have to be accountable to society. And that makes it very, very critical. The research, therefore, has to be relevant. The research has to answer the societal problems. That is, should be action research. We have to first find out, to have dialogue with the community and see what are their problems. Professor Nwagawa actually presented quite a number of issues. And he said, these are research questions that you can ask. So we need to bear those in mind, okay? Issues of climate change, issues he was talking of inflation, he was talking of the disease problems, so many things that we can find from society. And then this way of approach will provide solutions and we shall be answerable to society. I think that is how critical it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your input. I will let James Mugisha also, if you want to add something, if you're still with us.
With us. He's not with us.
He's not with us. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Then I know. I think we will, unless the panelist wants to add any final remarks, please, this is your chance now, but we will round off. Yes.
But it's very brief. We're discussing now Sub-Saharan Africa, but this, publication staying on the shelf, it's also an issue here in Sweden, for example. So we need to think about this globally.
Yeah, absolutely.
For me, I'm just wondering how we can take this model that AgriFoSe has proven to work, how we can take it everywhere around the world for researchers and for everyone else who's involved in the sector.
I'm also wondering that.
Yeah.
We'll have to explore and understand that further, maybe in the next webinar. Thank you, everyone. Let's see where I am now with my, So, on the behalf of the AgriFoSe program, I would like to thank all the keynotes and all the panelists, all the speakers for joining and being so engaged and coming with so much insight that I hope we all can bring back to our everyday work. And thank you, of course, the audience for listening in. This will be recorded and shared further, so hopefully more people will listen in. We will look over the Q&A. If there was any questions, we will try and follow up with them online afterwards. And I would also like to thank AgriFoSe, the program management and the communication and engagement team who are behind the scenes for organizing this event. And thank you for letting me moderate it. I want to now conclude and give the word to the final speaker for concluding remarks. So we have SIDA here, represented through Dr. Anna-Karin Norling, who has 20 years of experience in research, capacity development, and international development cooperation. She's also represented Sweden in the CGIAR system, Council for Ag and Food Systems Research. A brief introduction, but please come up, and I think we can sit down the rest of the panel here. And you have a mic that should be working. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me here to give a few words. I'm really honored. And I just want to start with really heartfelt congratulations to AgriFoSe, because as we've seen and heard today, your results over these 10 years are amazing. I mean, you have really accomplished both a methodology development that works and also concrete results. I have followed AgriFoSe quite closely the last maybe 6-7 years. I work with research cooperation, where capacity building and research to impact are 2 or 3 areas where we really focus. And we all know that doing research, building capacity, and achieving change takes time. It's a long-term endeavor, and it needs long-term investments, both funds but also engagements from many different stakeholders. So therefore, I just also want to say that I'm very proud of my organization and of my colleagues, that we have been able to give AgriFoSe 10 years, because, and I think this also gives us a good argument when we, because often results, you want to show results very quickly, but to really have impact often takes time. And today we've heard both concrete results and also heard about the methodology. As you are aware, I think, the funding landscape of development cooperation and research in development cooperation has been changing rapidly the last few years. Also overall decreasing, of course. And I think that, but at the same time, I should say, at the same time, it's also been more and more evident we need to know what we're doing. We need to do the right things to really have impact. And at SIDA, we have an assignment from the government right now to really make sure we are working evidence-based. And then seeing AgriFoSe is really like spot on what we're doing. And I think this is where the panel and the presentations and the panel conversation today really clearly showed how important it is. And I think in the end, the question raised in the end, how can we make sure that AgriFoSe, not just itself, I don't think it will, because of the hubs, and so it will move on, but how can we scale it? And then one question, a little bit maybe of self, because maybe I now identify as a policymaker, or at least policy implementer. We need also to differentiate between practitioners and policymakers, I think, when we work with translating science into practice or policy. Because I think there are 2 quite different, maybe not different things, but different receptors for different stakeholders with different both agendas, because policymakers are often also politicians and have ideologies. And we have talked a lot about the competence and the capacity of researchers to translate the science into something that can be adapted by others and other stakeholders to understand. But how do we make sure that policymakers ask the right questions and go looking for evidence and are held accountable so that they are using evidence? I think that is something we also need to keep. It's maybe not researchers' responsibility, but keep in mind and also keep policymakers accountable. But that was just a few reflections on my part, and I just want to say thank you for having me today, and congratulations to these 10 years.
Thank you so much, Anna-Karin, for those final remarks. Very indeed, lots of food for thoughts to bring back when we leave this webinar. And then I just want to say thank you so much for listening in, and hope to see you soon again. Goodbye.